it's really clear that we're going through a threshold and a doorway of whether you think of it globally, nationally, or personally. I believe that since we're all connected in this radical interconnectedness, we're all going through this as a planet. Whether you think about the economy or the environment. Last week I talked about the actual spin of the crust of the Earth is actually going backwards. I talked about magnetic north is actually shifting at an accelerated rate towards Siberia. And while this is something that scientists expected, it in our technology, we're having to reset navigation systems, and we're discovering more and more about these changes all happening at the same time. Yet the planets are in alignment. Yet the planets are in alignment. So that means, last week I talked about that means we must be here on purpose for such a time as this. And today I kind of continue part two of this talk, which is really about thresholds and doorways. And I believe that, when you think about passages, doorways, thresholds, you can think about them like, oh, I'm squeezing through this crack here. I've got to go into this place and squeeze through and that kind of a doorway. Instead, I'm thinking about opening the door to our magnificence, opening the doorway of transformation. And some of that may take efforting, and a lot of it may not take efforting at all. It must take willingness. And it was really interesting. I have 7 different email accounts. Don't laugh at me, but one of them is, and I go to it last night, and I never look at the promotion tab in this particular account, but I open the promotion tab, and there is nothing but one person's emails. It's Mike Dooley Tut, which is called The Universe Talks. And if you aren't subscribed to that, I highly recommend subscribing to Mike Dooley, The Universe Talks, otherwise known as Tut. And what I read, I'm not sure if it was the most recent one, but just really quickly, I read something that I thought was appropriate for today's topic. And it said, David, should you ever suddenly round a bend on the road of life and see before you an enormous uncharted mountain with towering cliffs, jagged rocks, and seemingly impenetrable walls, please consider it a sign that your dream is considerably more worthwhile than you had previously imagined, and that you're exactly where you should be, and you're about to get to the very best part. And it signs off, just saying, the universe. So part of this says, the more challenges we have, the more grandeur we're going to have, the more magnificence we're going to be capable of. I believe that we as spiritual people that sign up to a spiritual path invite these doorways. We want these doorways because we want change in our life. We signed up for this. We want to shift. On the subject of doorways, I've been thinking about a particular type of transition, the metamorphosis or shape shifting, especially from a caterpillar into a butterfly. And a metamorphosis of any kind means that what came before is unrecognizable to what's going to come next, or what's going to come next is unrecognizable to what currently exists. It's sometimes a complete shift. And I was thinking, isn't that the type of shift our world needs right now? It needs something that maybe we haven't imagined and has not been prototyped before. As Einstein said, we can't answer and resolve things with the same kind of thinking that created those things, right? That's not the exact quote, but you get it. So are there areas in your life, we can view this talk as a kind of a macro, or are there areas in your life in a micro that you're looking for a doorway, you're seeking this transformation from this caterpillar to a butterfly? And the caterpillar is a lower energy form of beingness than the butterfly, to be sure, I think. Not to insult it, but that's the way it is. And yet it carries everything. It carries all the ideas of a butterfly. And how does it do this? It does it with something called imaginal cells. And I've heard Marianne Williamson talk about this concept a lot because it's pretty cool. And it's so fitting that they're called imaginal cells because what that means is something deep inside of the caterpillar subconsciously, biologically knows what it is to become. The blueprint of the butterfly is within it. And yet the caterpillar is fighting against this physiological change because it is a change. It's a shift. You know, in Unity, you might call this chemicalization, right? It's a chemical change. But given the right environment and the right time and the right twig and the right nutrition, the magnificence of the butterfly will be revealed. So what does that mean if we think of ourselves as going through this cocooning process? And this process means that in between what was and what will be, there's a transitory phase. And where things are murky and nebulous and confusing and unknown. A few years ago, I talked about Richard Rohr. He was talking about the liminal phase, Liminal, the liminal phase that transitions might feel like. And it is described as this place where there's what you were before, you've stepped out of that, right? And you're not yet stepping into what will be, but you're in this halfway point where there's a lot of uncertainty. So that liminal phase can be an uncertain, scary place to be. It certainly is a place where a lot of our country is right now, right? But what are the liminal phases of our lives? These liminal phases can be a part of the miracle, a part of the miracle. So speaking of Richard Rohr, he said this about liminal phases. He said, we have to allow ourselves to be drawn into sacred space, into liminality. All transformation takes place here. Wow, all transformation takes place here. There alone is our old world left behind, though we're not yet sure of what awaits us. This is the sacred space where the old world is able to fall apart and a bigger world is to be revealed. If we don't encounter liminal space in our lives, we start idealizing normalcy. We start idealizing maybe what was. And this threshold is God's room. It's God's waiting room, okay? God's waiting room. So I love that. That's by Richard Rohr. So this caterpillar you is resisting the change. It's afraid of the change. And it's saying, no, I'm staying put. But like Michael Beckwith has said, the pain will push you until the vision pulls you. The pain of the experience of the caterpillar will push until the vision of the butterfly pulls. And I can think about my time of addiction. This is certainly, and anybody who has known anyone to go through addiction, that pain is going to push you and push you and push you and push you and push you. And it seems to me, I'm going to conjecture that you don't really get to the other side until the vision pulls you. You know, a lot of people can keep on hitting bottom and going through that pain unless they have a vision or they catch a vision, in my opinion. Maybe that's oversimplification of addiction, but that's what my experience was. So what was your metamorphosis that you went through at some point in your life? And what is the metamorphosis that's waiting to happen? What doors are you seeking out? Your fear of public speaking, there's a caterpillar waiting to be transformed. Your desire to serve in a greater way, there's a butterfly waiting to emerge. Your wish to get rid of obstacle and hindrance-based thinking, lack and limitation, there's a caterpillar waiting to be transformed. So you can go on and on and on and think about it this way. So how do we help these transformations take place? I think this is what spiritual people want to do. They want to help catalyze these transformations. And uh, my dear friend Marilyn Pels has always told me that, and I cannot find the source of this quote. If anybody can ever find it, it's not on a Google search, but the quote is this: the environment dictates the change, not the ecological environment, but the spiritual environment dictates the change. But symbolically, a plant, this seed, once it's put in fertile soil and given water, it's given the right environment, it will grow a completed idea that is the tree. Everything that the tree is, all the idea, the formula for the tree is in that seed. So it is with whatever magnificence that we're facing. So what's our environment? Our environment is the fourth principle of unity, spiritual practices. Our environment is prayer, changing our mind. Our environment is meditation, detoxing from dopamine, detoxing from all of those devices that we scroll and scroll and scroll on. The stillness that Charles and Myrtle Fillmore used to begin each gathering with before they thought of themselves. They didn't think of themselves as a church, but the stillness they knew was a place of transformation, fertile soil. So all of these spiritual practices, gratitude is a wonderful way to change our environment and set us up for growth because it puts us squarely in the present. Gratitude puts us in the present. So it starts by us being a change agent in our own private universe and just paying attention to the thoughts and our habits in our own private universe. And that's what mindfulness is about. And as we work on the inner world of us, the outer world must change because we're all radically one, we're radically interconnected. So the inner world and the outer world are radically interconnected too. So it's like watering soil. So how do we create more butterflies? I switch now from talking about butterflies to talking, as I do each year at this time, roughly, about elephants. And to get some more guidance here on passages, doorways through the liminal phases of our life. And I have many Ganesh or Ganeshi, you might call it, but this is, I'll try to bring it a little bit closer. This is Ganesh, and there's a lot of symbolism. There's a lot going on in there. I am going to point out there's a little rat at its feet. There's a little mouse. Can you see it? Wow, it's amazing how and it's almost under his foot, okay? But this Ganesh is an amazing, this is from Hinduism. Ganesh is one of the more revered gods of Hinduism. And even if you don't believe, you don't have to believe in Ganesh, but the symbolism can be so helpful. And what Ganesh is the Lord of thresholds. Ganesh is the remover of all obstacles. And Ganesh is the god of new beginnings. So perfect at this New Year time. We just traversed over the solar New Year, as well as the lunisolar New Year of Chinese New Year, and all of the greater Lunar New Year celebrations just happened. So this is a great time to focus on Ganesh. So it's quite obvious now that we're going through this through a time of upheaval. And sometimes when I'm uncertain, sometimes when I'm scared, I just put Ganesh near my bedside or just near my table, and I say, I don't know how. I don't know how. Show me how. Grant me divine guidance. Now, this is all coming from within, of course, but it helps to have this separation and have a conversation and affirm that this intelligence, this divine intelligence is happening. And that Ganesh is just one of the manifestations of the one presence and the one power. So at times like this, I find myself trusting the process and I find myself trusting God. Now, Ganesh is known, as I said, as the remover of all obstacles. And that must mean that a way can be made out of no way. This is an African proverb. A way can be made out of no way. And regardless of whether you think like, oh, we've passed the demarcation point of global warming. We're past the point of no return. Sorry, we're all doomed. That thinking is based on limitation, based on what we know. So I believe that understanding that a way can be made out of no way, and if we are tapped into this one source that is our infinite supply and intelligence and answers and possibilities, there absolutely is and will be a solution for global warming. It is emerging. This mentality is what created the very first vaccine. It probably was like, huh? Like back, before that first vaccine, to be thinking of the actual science that would create a vaccine, that was someone's imagination about what was possible, and that continued into science. So there is an answer for global warming. There is an answer for democracy, even if we think the answer is not coming. And further, I talked about that rat, and this is symbolic of many things, but it can be symbolic for us about Ganesh. Therefore, we, invoking Ganesh, have the power over those little pesky things like all of our tape recordings and baggage that we carry with us. We have power over these thinkings, this thinking of lack and limitation. There's not enough to go around. Our own powerlessness. This is denials. This will have no power over me. And that's why Ganesh is practically stepping on the rat. Where's the rat? There it is. It's very symbolic for, he's not stepping on the rat, but his foot is right over the rat. It's very symbolic for he has conquered all of those things that are fear-based and less than. So that's the lessons of Ganesh. And the interesting thing, I'm working towards a wind-up here. Ganesh is not only the remover of obstacles, but he is said to place those obstacles in our way in the first place for the lessons that we're going to learn from them. So the obstacles can be gifts. Mary O'Malley wrote a book called What's in the Way is the Way. What's in the way is the way. So that is the same thinking here about what's in the way is the transformative tool. So if we think about obstacles not as something bad, but as allies and teachers, then we are so much more powerful. And Richard Bach said, there's no such thing as a problem without a gift for you in its hands. There's no such thing as a problem without a gift for you in its hands. Last year, I created a life chart and I mapped out like, okay, year 0, I was born, and my earliest memories, something good happened. And then like, okay, in the first grade, somebody bullied me, that's bad. Oh, and then I won this award in the second grade. And I kept on mapping the ups and downs of my life. And some of those ups and downs can be very major things in our lives. And I found that every obstacle was followed by a blessing, and that the blessings were bigger than the obstacles. So thinking in that way, your life is a trajectory that goes up and up and up. It may not look like this. It may look like this, or it may look like that, but spiral. But I close by saying, if we view our obstacles as allies and not the enemy, and if we view every threshold as a sacred doorway that we're going to open, we got the key. And let's let our butterfly state pull us, and guide us exactly to where we need to be. And so it is.
Thank you so much for having me. Lead me, love, lead me on. When I'm weary, make me strong. Lead me home. Lead me, love. Lead me on. When I'm weary, make me strong, make me strong. Lead me, love. Lead me, love. Help me grow, help me grow. Lead me, love. Lead me, love. Lead me home. Lead me home. One more time. Lead me, love. Sing it with me. Lead me, love. Lead me on. Lead me on. I am ready. I am ready. I am strong. I am strong. Lead me, love. Lead me, love. Watch me grow. Watch me grow. Lead me, love. Lead me, love. I am home. I am home. I am home. I am home. You did it again. I was furiously typing while you were talking. Oh my God. Is everybody as turned on as I am? Yeah? I can't see you because I'm on the spotlight, but I'm hoping you're feeling it too. And I just wrote a killer song. I've never sang it before because I just wrote it just now, but it's going to be good. It's called Thresholds and Doorways. There's a shift. There's a shift. There's a shift. A big change. Everything is upside down and rearranged. So much shift in this time. Upside down, and yet everything's aligned. There's a doorway. Don't need to squeeze through. Opening into the magnificence of you. We signed up for this metamorphosis for sure. Can you feel the shift into something that has never existed before? Just imagine now, while you might want to hide, no matter how hard you try, you can't hold back. You're changing into a butterfly. Don't be afraid, it's just a liminal phase. Don't be afraid, it's just a liminal phase. Pain pushes until the vision pulls. So take the time to be in the soil, to be still. It starts right now in your head. So work on the inner world, get yourself fed. There's a doorway, don't need to squeeze through. It's opening into the magnificence of you. It's emerging a new world. All the answers for tomorrow in imagination as your wings unfurl. See, we signed up for this, a metamorphosis for sure. Oh, can you feel the shift? Can you feel the shift into something that has never existed before? So just imagine now what you are. You might want to hide, but no matter how hard you try, you can't hold back. You can't hold back. You're turning up into a butterfly. So step on the rat and take your power back. Step on the fear. If you listen, you can hear that every problem has a gift. Every mountain is a lift, taking you up, 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 up. So let it shift. Every threshold is a sacred doorway. And what's in the way is the way. I think I need to do the chorus one more time. We signed up for this metamorphosis for sure. That's right. Can you feel the shift? Can you feel the shift into something that has never existed before? So just imagine now. Ooh, imagine now. Even though you might want to hide, no matter how hard you try, you cannot hold back. You cannot hold back. You're changing into that beautiful butterfly.